All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back. Day 4 of TRIBALIZE, and wow, what a weekend it has been.
Yeah, today has been our finance day. It's been really inspiring. A whole bunch of people from the regenerative movement coming together to create systems around regenerative finance. I had the honor of interviewing a bunch of inspiring co-creators within the movement, focusing on finance and other fields. The first is Paco from Investing Soul and Gorilla E, focusing on NFTs and how they can influence the regenerative movement through collective land purchasing in Mexico and funding regenerative movements, regenerative projects within the field.
In the interview, as well as Elio, the mastermind behind the creation of these NFTs on the Solana blockchain, a conscious blockchain that uses proof of stake, being more energy efficient, and also integrating an innovative tool that opens the market of regenerative communities to a demographic of human that has tons of crypto sitting around and looking to turn it into real life things. Specifically, real life things that are positive for the environment and positive for the humans that are involved. These are regenerative communities. These NFTs that are funding projects like Pet Gas, an environmental cause, turning plastic waste into energy, are also providing access to our first regenerative community here in Mexico, Icumal. People investing in the funding of the creation of a pet gas station are rewarded by using these NFTs as an access ticket to visit the regenerative community in the middle of the jungle and be inspired for sustainability.
Let's check out how this conversation went. Thank you for sitting with me today, guys. What brought you to TRIBALIZE this weekend?
Thank you for having us. Hi, so we came to TRIBALIZE because we can see all these regenerative communities being formed. We have an NFT project, which is a new way of funding NGOs and of having ownership of a community. And we want to bring that ownership into the real world to new regenerative communities here in Mexico to start with.
Wow, this is amazing. Do you want to go a little bit into detail about this?
Of course, Tarzan here. We got the Gorilla NFT community forming every day since a month that we launched our art collection, our NFT art collection, which is bringing many people from all over the world to join, to be a community, and to start focusing on the solutions that we have for the real problems on this world, instead of just being out there, dissipated, and stressing out about the problems. Now we come together and even put funds as a community to start tackling the problems and the crises around the world, especially plastic for this first part of the project.
Beautiful. So how does this work? How can NFTs help us to regenerate the planet?
So first, by raising funds, and second, by having a community work together as a unit. NFTs make it so that you identify with a piece of art, which is how it's starting. Plus, it gives a way of the revenues that come from the projects to put them back into the project, reinvest, and divide the profits into the community holders. So basically, it's a circular economy, benefiting the people that are members.
Beautiful. What are you guys taking from this weekend here at TRIBALIZE? Is there any inspiration, any connections that you found and that gonna move you forward in your own project or give you the opportunity to give back to others?
Well, plenty opportunities and plenty room for growth is what we take from here. We're still not done yet because it's our time to share a little of what we know and how we feel about this movement that feels like it's over the overwhelming feeling of not being able to communicate and come together as communities. And yes, we're taking all this value from here and into here to keep spreading the word and the right tools to make change happen.
Like Francisco said, Tarzan, it's really important to have these spaces where we can all meet, share, and network. Because one of the biggest challenge for someone that's already been doing NFT projects and DAOs is, like Francisco said, that communication and having that unit and that community together as a team. So these spaces are great. Thank you for having this space, because this is what we need more of.
Thank you guys for being part of it, like being part of TRIBALIZE, being part of the regenerative movement. It really is about bringing together the best of all worlds, connecting the dots, and technology, blockchain, and regenerative practices are an essential part of it, right? So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Julia from.
Go for Gorilla Gang.
Thank you, Eliu, and thank you, Gorilla E, for everything that you're doing and for bringing tech, the blockchain, NFT into the regenerative field and helping regenerative communities thrive.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, that was a great interview with them, and it's exciting to see this movement of technology bridging to an earth movement that is creating eco-villages. Another beautiful example of this is the integration of Lola's project, Hedonia World, a regenerative community being master planned and mapped out and sold at the moment, and using NFTs to provide interviews, provide invitation to immersive experiences, and for land purchase. You can check them out on OpenSea and check out more about Lola's project from our day 3 interviews at hedonia.world. Our next interview is with Dimitri, a master tech whiz that we met at TRIBALIZE. Thank you, Brad, for creating this beautiful space to bring all of these magicians together and find connection points between us. Dimitri, this tech-minded developer and creator who also is in the active community creation space. We came together on the idea of what is possible to facilitate and empower the regenerative community creation movement. We're doing it by hand, concierge startup style, and the next phase involves a digital implementation of tool, an app, if you will, to connect community creators, pioneers, community members, people wanting to live in these communities, and service providers, the people who actually build the spaces, to find each other, collaborate, and find ways to build more of these communities better and faster.
Dimitri is an essential part of this process, and we are honored to work with him. Thank you, Dimitri, for all that you do, and let's check out how the conversation went. Dimitri, thank you so much for sitting with me today. What brought you to TRIBALIZE this weekend?
So TRIBALIZE for me is this gathering of so many of the thought leaders and the people who are at the forefront of making communities happen. Mm-hmm. We know that there's a trend in the way that communities are growing, the way that a number of communities are growing, but it's still like the Wild West. Right. And there's still so much to be figured out. There's still so many of the tools that are not available, not widely available. So for me, that's like one of the most exciting things is connecting with people who are wanting to push that frontier.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I hear you are passionate about regenerative communities. Where do you see the importance of people co-living and coming together?
I think it's a bit like asking why fish swim in water, right? It's like this is where we belong, right? And this is the only way that we're going to survive the coming, lockdowns and the pandemics, like these kinds of measures that are meant to distance us and keep us separate. I think that the communities, whether that's both land-based communities and the larger community around it, is going to be key in order to gain enough critical mass to be able to fight back in any meaningful way and to be able to have enough sufficiency and resiliency that we can actually make it through, say, a food crisis, for example. Yeah.
Are there any communities on your personal journey that have inspired you to this mindset and to co-create yourself?
The main one that inspired me when I was first getting into the intentional community movement was called Polestar Gardens on the Big Island. And Polestar is it's a Yogananda-based community, but it's a beautiful model for this retreat type of lifestyle that is very integrated with the rest of the people living there. And it was so beautiful to wake up every morning at like 6 a.m. We're all out there doing these exercises and then going and meditating while someone else was preparing breakfast, and just the mindfulness nature of it all, the meditation, the waking up aspect, combined with the fact that so much of the food was produced on the land or was procured from neighbors nearby, because this is in rural Hawaii, the east side, where all the lava has flowed in 2018. So amazing example that after 6 weeks, I was like, I want to live here, but I want to create something similar to this that is more open to other spiritual traditions.
What have you found here at TRIBALIZE in regards to your personal community co-creation journey that you're taking home, that you find very inspiring, and that you would maybe like others to receive too that aren't here this weekend?
That it's all about being willing to collaborate and open up whatever that we're doing. Open that up so it's not just this one little organization that's successful. It doesn't make sense to be the only one in the lifeboat, right? It's like, open it up so that we can all flourish together and be willing. Like, I love the way that they've been talking about flow, that flow of energy and the flow of currency. And so opening that flow up to know that we need all of us to be flowing in this ecosystem, and that we can all come together in various ways because we all have different pieces of the puzzle.
Well, thank you for being in the flow. Thank you for being part of the flow. And thank you for co-creating regeneration. Thank you, Dimitri, for this great conversation. Thank you for being part of the regenerative movement, co-creating regenerative communities, and it is an honor to work with you.
Yeah, we have been checking in on a weekly call since the end of TRIBALIZE with Dimitri and other magical friends that we met there and reconnected with to discuss what the building of this app that will provide tools and networking for the community of community creators, what that looks like and what it should be doing to help us all in our journey of creating these new Earth villages around the world. Speaking of New Earth villages, Brady is building one, and that's our next interview.
Yeah, Brady has an inspiring space in Bali, focusing on retreats as well as creating a space for community in a mixed model, short, mid, and long term. It's an interesting model that he's following. He's done a lot of A/B testing around his community and really setting high intentions for it to have it thrive. Let's see what he has to share with us. Nathan, thank you so much for sitting with me today. What brought you to TRIBALIZE this weekend?
I had the privilege of meeting Brad at the Greater Reset in Morelia in January, where I was leading breathwork sessions. And instinctively, I was like, wow, this is a special brother. There's going to be some beautiful things to learn from him. And so, yeah, this feels like just the beginning, actually, of co-creating with him. So it's a privilege to be of service this weekend to his vision. Yeah.
I know you're passionate about regeneration and community. Where have you found your inspiration for it?
Very organically, actually, living in Senegal for 15 years and before that Morocco for 4. So that's pretty much all of my adult life in societies where the opposite of individualism, which we don't have much of a vocabulary for in our vernacular. People are using the term we consciousness here, which is beautiful, but this is the default automatic way of life every moment you step out your door. So I feel it's kind of a unique and beautiful homecoming, if you will, because I miss it there, but it's inside of me, so I give thanks. But the way when I was talking about like tuning into we consciousness and learning nonviolent communication and like just learning an essence of humbleness towards the collective and the constellation of which you are a part, it's like all the language around it is great. Like we need that path, but I'm like, wow, this is like exactly what I was kind of, wired into. I say wired because I feel like having lived there for so long rewired me into that kind of tuning and awareness. So, but without the terms for it, without the workshops, it was just like, I mean, it's funny. That's why a lot of people, I think, are challenged by their time in Africa, because it's so confrontational, like, not in terms of relations, but in terms of reflections. Like, you will always get reflections about you. Like the way you look in the eye of a child who's begging, for example, the way you handle every moment, you know, to be present and authentic and respectful. And there's constant, it's like, we jokingly would say that it's like being in an ayahuasca ceremony 24/7. Everything is just energy. And from the core of your intention and your vibration, that is what flows. So like constant growth opportunity. If you're like crazy like me, it's exciting and you love it. But for a lot of Western folks, it was really called them to like, check out some shadows that maybe had been, you know, disregarded. And there's so much to say about it. But I'm really grateful for it, because I really believe in the magic of the we, of the me's transcended into the we. And all my work has flourished in that field of like creating big festivals or big orchestras. So like we alchemy and magic. So I'm excited that people in the West now are like exploring that and feeling called to it in their own organic way. So yeah, it's like a homecoming.
Beautiful. What are you taking from this weekend here at TRIBALIZE home, and maybe a message that you would like everyone to know that isn't part of it? You said such beautiful things about like the we consciousness, and that community is really the essence inside of us already, and that we're actually coming back to something old as opposed to creating something new.
Exactly. You just said it. You got this. I think most of the point of life here in Mexico, and it's been spoken about a bit, but I'm really grateful to have Mexican speakers here. And it's very easy to default into like expat bubbles in the freedom community. And that is discomforting to me. It's not the way I lived in Africa, but it's not about me. I think that organically, deep senses of integration are more stable structures and more sustainable, and that's been my life experience. And I see a lot of bubbles and pockets of expats, and I'm like, if like supply chain shortage is a thing, or food shortage, like, do you know your relations to like people who run your farmers markets, you know, like, are you integrated? And if there's like aggression or crime, like, are you looking out for each other, protecting each other? So I would just say, like, because also outside of the comfort zone can be where the magic happens. So the work of integrating is a courageous diving out of one's comfort zone. And it's easy to avoid that here because there's so many Western folks. You can like speak your own language everywhere you go. But that's a little bit dangerously tranquilizing, I feel. Like we really need to do the work to like know about the family of the dude who fixes your scooter every few weeks, you know? There's like a basic in Senegal, for example. Like you need to know like how many kids they got and what their names are and, you know, what they're into. And yeah, just being present in every moment possible to the people who've stewarded this land for so many generations and, you know, cook our food, fix our scooters. And I mean, if you're single, try to date a Mexican too, you know, like that's a beautiful opportunity to transcend your bubble through like the more lubricated lightness of love, you know. Also, it's much easier to learn a language through love too. Yeah. So any opportunity we can take to explore the expansion of our comfort zone through connecting in authentic ways with locals, I think, yeah, that's what what we're called to now, from what I see in the freedom communities around the country.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of this regenerative movement by sharing your wisdom, your breath work, your experience with the world, and yeah, taking it out there. Thank you.
Sharing your gifts.
Thank you, Brady. That was an excellent conversation. Connecting with Brady, we actually found one of his decks in our resource center, meaning that when we connect with projects, we collect their decks and their master plans for the community to share. So somehow his deck ended up in our portfolio before we even knew him. A beautiful case of, being connected before you are.
And we found a lot of this at TRIBALIZE. Connecting with people working on very similar, if not the same exact things. And this hyper-validates our mission to empower the regenerative community movement. Lots of people seeking to build these kinds of spaces around the world and needing different pieces of the puzzle. And we are all a piece of the puzzle. And how we decide to connect and where we decide to connect is what's going to make this movement grow exponentially, what we seek to happen.
That was TRIBALIZE Day 4, and the Tribalist conference, after all, it was inspiring, it was challenging, it was highly connected. Thank you to everyone who took part in it. If you like what you see, hit like and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram with regen.tri.